Just waiting for all the checkings, and here we go. Have you ever been a part of a conversation where you felt that, oh, I wish the conversation never ever gets over? Have you also ever been a part of a conversation where you just hoped and prayed, when will this get over? Today, we're going to decode the dichotomy of a conversation. Every single time we communicate, there are always these extremes. It's either good or bad. Let's first understand the word dichotomy. The word dichotomy means two. Two as in everything that we do, our brain always loves to take control. Our mind loves to have control over every conversation that we have, and rather anything in life. In a conversation, it's always choosing, is it right? Is it wrong? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it this or it's that? And all of that is happening inside. Have you ever come across a situation where people are talking about their perspective? Let me throw a couple of interesting ones. Should you get married or not? Now you might be thinking, well, yeah, we should. But then if I ask you why, you might not even be able to give me a proper answer. Yeah. Or post marriage, should you give birth to children or not? Something to think about. Yeah. So when it comes to any conversation for that matter, there is always, you are talking to the other person, but there is always this rift going on inside on a self conversation between whatever that person is telling or not, and then validating it deep within us whether it's right or not. So today's episode, we are going to decode all of it. It's going to be a little reflective one because I came back from the retreat, although today and tomorrow I was not supposed to do any of the talking tasks because of my throat. But then I just want to make sure I show up. Yogeshwari and I, we kind of uh, committed that we are going to show up every day no matter what. So I got some notes in front of me thanks to Clara, and we will try and see how we can get the entire thing sorted. And the best way to do so, we are going to do it is in the form of layers. So when you look at onion, the vegetable, there is a lot of layers that opens up to the core. Same thing for rose as well. You look at any flower, there are layers of the petals of that flower. So the best way to take it is I will take the example of two people. Obviously, I'll not take their names. Two people, one who ended up to become a very, very good friend of mine. The second, this would be it's not one specific person, it's a group of people, two or three similar patterns, similar observations, whom I initially thought would turn out to be good friends, but then when I met them in person, it was not what it turned out to be. So the first the first layer is called as the usual start of every conversation, and that's a very, very neutral zone. So what exactly happens? Two people meet, exchange a greeting. How are you? How's it going? How are everything going on? And at that point of time, as human beings, we are generally open to receive. Okay, open to receive. We don't judge. We don't command. Of course, over the years, the more we grow up, the more we tend to judge, and that's what at least I have observed with my elders, and now with my peers as well. Now that I'm slowly edging towards 30. I still personally believe that I'm still a little child, so I continue to give people the benefit of the doubt. I love giving people that unconditional trust, although it has cost me a lot of times in the past, but it's just me. It's just when a baby, someone comes to pamper the baby just wants to get that attention, isn't it? So I consider myself that. Now, once this layer is done and the pleasantries and everything is exchanged, then comes the second layer, layer number two. This is called as the exchange or the curiosity zone. This is when there are sharings that happen. I'm talking about sharings of perspectives, beliefs, stories, experiences, point of views. And more often than not, there are only two kinds of people in this world with respect to this layer. The first are the ones who love sharing. They love to talk only about them. That space, that sacred space that got built in a conversation, they want to talk more about them. The second person are the ones who listen. So they listen to the other person's perspective, stories, opinions, and all. Of course, wherever needed, if asked, will be sharing their own as well. Now, you look at the biggest leaders in the world, they fall under the latter category. They don't really necessarily have that desire to feed their information and everything to the other person. Now, again, by the way, as we are continuing with this episode, do I have your permission, and can we all agree upon keeping the dichotomy aside? Like whatever I'm going to share, we are not going to, not even for once, going to judge whether it's good, bad, right, wrong, this, that, and all. Can we agree on that? Because unless we stand on the neutral point, we will not be able to learn. And here we want to look at both the sides. Okay. So the examples here, let's just say one person says that I'm an early morning person. I'm a night owl. I love trekking. I love beaches. I love just lazing around. I love being super active. These are perspectives that are exchanged. So in this layer, what exactly happens? They are not exactly in the mode of debate yet. They're just revealing who they are. And it's a very, very interesting thing to understand that curiosity is the foundation of this particular layer. Now, when you have to understand that different people are made up of different ingredients. Every human being is unique. Every human being has had their own upbringing, their experiences, their perspectives, beliefs. All of the things are completely different. So if we really want to make sure that we are in connection with people in this layer, usually in a very natural manner, we are always very, very observant, aren't we? So I'm yet to take up examples right now, uh, but I'm just letting the layers forward and then I'm taking the examples. Okay. The third layer is called as the layer of dichotomy. This is the layer where the difference zone happens, which means there are a lot of opposites that happen. I like X, you like Y. I believe this, you believe that. All these things keeps coming up. And it is considered that this is normal. Differences are usually never the problem. So let's take a very simple example. One person loves remote work, one person loves the office culture. It's absolutely fine, right? If this conversation is handled well, it turns out to be a friendly difference. We can always agree to disagree. And as well, you will realize that the conversation still continues to remain warm. It feels good. But this difference turns out to be slowly the dichotomy. The good, bad, right, wrong, my way, your way, problem, solution, all those things, if not handled well. So this is where I would like to come up with three examples. The first, there was this friend of mine who, not really a friend, rather an acquaintance of mine, but she kind of considered herself to be a friend of mine. Without any communication, without any clarity, she just assumed that she's a friend of mine and also assumed on my behalf that I also consider her as a friend of mine. And we were we were in this little retreat that I attended, okay? Constantly poking and nudging about what are my thoughts on certain aspects of life, religion, spirituality, meditation, and all these things. Now, in one of the previous episodes, I told you about how a conversation gets structured, right? You got impromptu, you got perspective sharing, you got debate, and then there's conflict. Yeah. So the more I'm trying to explain my perspective on, which is again my perspective, it has nothing to do with the world beliefs. So I consider myself an atheist until and unless I really see any form of divinity right in front of my eyes, where I can, just like how, as a human being, right? You can see me, feel me, talk to me. When we meet, I'll give you a hug, we'll shake hands and all those things. Until the same thing happens in any divine form, I'm not going to believe. And that divine form needs to really express himself. Again, this is my perspective. Now, she, on the other hand, was constantly challenging, and not just challenging, enforcing her perspective upon me and making me feel wrong. That's one aspect of it. And that was slightly offending to some extent. Of course, I did handle it correctly, and that's why the dichotomy was normal. The second person is, again, I would say an acquaintance, was a good friend, but things turned ugly. So I didn't consider her as, I still don't consider her as a friend. Maybe she does. I don't really know. There are certain actions that were taken which was not supposed to be. And that's why usually I kind of maintain my distance and dissociate myself away from such people. So she has a perspective of, first we build the brand and then we give value. I believe first give value and then build a brand. So for me, content comes first, showing up comes first, creating stuff comes first, giving value comes first. Later, as the the value given creates value, which means I get paid for my work and all, I can obviously hire people to build my website and everything. She, on the other hand, literally wanted to force this opinion upon me. No, 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 Suryadeep, I want you to make the website. See, as a friend, I'm giving you the best advice. You should take it and all. We will discuss more in the following layers. And that was again slightly offending for me. The third person, she was also a very gentle lady in the retreat we met. And there was a constant, so let's just say we did a particular activity of some meditation or whatever. And then we are in the round table and I'm seated with that lady. We all individually will have to share our perspective, our reflections on that specific event. And we did. At every point of time, she was getting into the coach avatar, as in asking deliberate questions for us to implore, definitely without good conscience, I'm sure. But then having the tendency to explain that as well, and explain the explanation to such an extent where after a certain point of time, I was a little scared of talking to her, because I knew that every single thing that I'm not doing in accordance to what she thinks, feels, perceives, and believes in, she will always, with in good conscience, have the tendency to overpower me by asking questions or becoming a coach, which I don't really need at that point of time. So if I am crying, she wants to justify, validate, as well as make me agree upon the fact that something is wrong with me and it needs work. Maybe nothing is wrong with me. I just need to be left alone. And there's no such judgments really needed, because when I perceive it, she might do it with all good conscience and faith. But for me, you are trying to label whatever it is that I am feeling, something that I only don't want to do, which validates the sacred space that was created. Does that make sense? Now, again, I'm not taking any names. I'm not decoding the exact incident. Maybe at some point of time I will do. But right now we are in layer 3. Now let's move to layer 4. This is the observation zone or the perception zone. So in this, they usually people start interpreting each other, which means this person is like this. This person will always be slightly condescending. This person is going to be judgmental. This is what happened. This is the way that she thinks. And this is a very, very complicated layer. Mind you, I'm sharing this, but I have been a victim of it. I have been subjugated into it. This is where assumptions kick in and not facts. Oh, just because this particular person has done like this is probably will be like how they are. So when I'll give you an example. When someone says, I don't like deadlines, the other person will definitely assume this person might definitely be responsible. Will not say it exactly, but will make that as an observation. In fact, observation turns into inference and conclusions inside their head. So when you have a wrong interpretation, first of all, we are not supposed to have any interpretations or judgments, isn't it? Because that's what creates friction. Then we move to layer 5. This is a very, very important one. This is where, from a consciousness level, we let the mind take over. And when the mind takes over and believes it to be supreme, that's what is called as ego. By the way, it's very, very difficult to understand when has ego taken over and when has conscience taken over. This is not a period of time when we ourselves get to know us. Rather, when someone tells us, that's when we get to know. So this is when a lot of conclusions or the observations on the previous layer turns into conclusions. He's rigid. He is, she's irritating. She's over smart. She explains a lot. And judgment always happens when ego enters into the conversation. So I'm reminded of one more very interesting example. There was this very, very sweet ma'am. She believes a certain religion, and as per her religious beliefs, one must always have sattvic food, which is without onion, garlic, and all. Forget about non-veg and all those things. And anyone who is against that belief, she always had a tendency to walk up to that person and share her perspective. But she didn't know that there is a difference between sharing your perspective and then overpowering your perspective on the other person. So with conversations with me, she did cross a couple of lines, not very much, rather in the form of questions, which of course I took it very, very sportingly, because I always believe if there's anything that is challenging your ego or hurting your ego, there is that always is a call for the it's always a sign for the for and a call for working on your humility muscles. What is a specific thing that has hurt your ego? Why is it so? What can we learn from this? These are the questions that I follow. But had this been a 2018-year-old Suryadeep, I would have just shown the longest finger of the hand, and I'd be like, why don't you mind your own business? That's what ego does to you. There's a reaction that happens. There's a fight, fright, or flight that happens. So it's like, so I'll give you a couple of examples, okay? This particular person takes ages to get ready. This person likes to plan for things months ahead. Uh, and the worst part is, it's always the extremes. You will see. This person is too rigid. This person is completely careless. It's always too rigid. And this is when we've already lost the interaction. By the way, very, very important. All these things are happening here. And you are outside to what you feel inside. So if inside, these are the conversations that's going on about a certain person, is it humanly possible to keep and shut down all these things or silent all these things and then talk to the other person politely? Some people are able to do it beautifully, but most find it difficult. Even if you're complete multi-level, multitasking your awareness, we've still fallen in trouble, haven't we? Now, I'm able to share this very, very openly with the hope that we are going to learn a lot from this. Yeah. So that's why I'm sharing all the learnings as well. Next, we move to the sixth layer, which is called as the opinion force. And this is where the conflict zone begins. This is when the communication starts to crack. This is where the other person always, either you try to enforce the other person tries to enforce you, and it all starts with a very, very simple and subtle manner. I think that you should think like this. I kind of get a sense that the way you are thinking is wrong. Uh, have you ever considered that you might not know everything about this? The conversation soon stops become a dialogue and soon turns into a debate. Happen Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's too aggressive. At least with my parents, things turn aggressive because when my parents don't believe certain thing about me, there's a raise in volume and they charge me by asking questions, which clearly offends me. So obviously, I have my distance with my parents as well. Let's get a very, very interesting example. So in the retreat, there was this interesting exercise practice that we were doing with that uh, a very traditional stuff called as mudgar. Mudgar is, if you just Google, you'll find it's like a wooden rod. And we were doing practice with that. Initially, I realized that I didn't enjoy the practice that much. Later, I realized I didn't enjoy the way the coach was training us. I didn't like his style. I didn't like his tonality, which was very monotone. I didn't like his unnecessary explanations between the practices. Like just get over with. And then I realized it's not that I don't like him or his methods. It is just that I want to have my own short and sweet fitness journey. I want to enjoy fitness. And that's not possible if you are forcing me to do 20 rounds of something that I'm not even enjoying. I enjoy playing badminton. I enjoy going for a walk in nature. And I like to take it slow, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day. Slowly, slowly, I want to increase. Now, this is what I realized because I had that communication with myself deep inside. But most people don't. Yeah. Now, when I was discussing this with a couple of the people over there, they are like, your diet is stupid or your routine doesn't make any sense. No, and this is what we are practicing. Do you think 20 people, 30 people are practicing? It's not going to make sense. Do you think our coach would have allowed this if this didn't make any sense? And soon I realized that the tonality shifted. The body language became more stiff. There was a little bit of a frown. The respect in the conversation has suddenly dropped. The ego has taken over. The original tone through which the conversation started, that completely disappeared. And it was more about how am I going to win in this conversation, not about understanding. Felt this before? Now, this is the point when usually you have to very, very politely stop. Stop as in, here's what I did. Very politely. And this I learned from Yogeshwari. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to cut you short. I think this conversation is not going anywhere on this topic. Now, you have lived certain amount of years on this planet Earth. I have lived certain amount of years on this planet Earth. I'm able to feel a lot of compassion, a lot of care for the fact that you are trying to tell me something which is good for me based on your years of experience or your years of learning in this planet Earth. Is that correct? They're like, obviously, yes. But is it okay if I can consciously choose to live my life my way in this regard, if that's okay with you? Now, if you are polite, most of the people will say yes. And then I also make sure that they don't feel offended. I'm like, see, I don't have anything against what you're saying. I know it's all for my own good. But then I'm able to sense that there's some kind of a rift that is happening in this conversation. And I feel I don't want to keep ignoring you for the rest of the retreat or in future as well. I want us to remain good friends. So that's why I just very, very politely just want to not talk about this topic right now, if that's okay with you. So this is honesty, this is authenticity, this is transparency, this is clarity. Now, what happens is we remain in the conversations keeps happening within our head, and then how often have you seen people or friends or parents or relatives They hate each other to the core, but then when they meet each other, like like that fake smile we see in those Indian serials and all, right? But they'll backpitch behind them. Yeah, we don't want that. So this is where you take control. Ready for layer number 7. By the way, this, are you enjoying this? This was just uh let before I go to layer 7. Okay, so I woke up today morning exactly half an hour before the live, and I was freshening up. Didn't have any ideas. Yogeshwari was still doing her live. Didn't really know what to talk about. But then I realized this was a topic that I really wanted to talk about for a long, long period of time. But then I didn't have a proper structure as such. So went to Clara and just typed a voice note like, this is what I want to speak. Can you give me a structure? Clara gave me such a beautiful structure. And the best part is the AI content can remain the same. Let's just say if you type the prompt, I type the prompt, the result can be the same. But the explanation, the stories, the reflections, the experiences, the structuring of those points will always be different between different people, isn't it? So here we are. Let's move to layer number 7. Layer number 7 is the disconnection. It's just getting worse, okay? Disconnection, or this is actual breakdown zone. Now, you have to understand so far what has happened. The perspectives started getting differed. There were a little bit of, first it happened internally and then in the form of a conversation, and then conflict, then debate, then enforcing of opinion to the other person. When this dichotomy keeps getting wider and wider, the conversation collapses. There is no one who's listening. There's only defending, correcting, proving right or wrong, all of those things. So it's more like a couple of people, I think one person in the retreat told me also, Suryadi, please don't talk to me like this, no. And the way I talk is just normal. It's exactly how I talk to you right now, is what I will talk to you the way I'm in front of you. Initially, I would realize, oh, did I say anything wrong which hurt people? But now I'm like, no, I don't hurt people. They get hurt because I did not meet their expectations, their what's that called? Like, I'm not even aware what are their expectations. So how is it possible that I'm going to meet them? How do you expect me to meet the expectations that you have hypothetically set for me without informing me as well? And the same thing goes the other way around as well at times. How often have we met people, no? This person doesn't understand me. My husband doesn't understand me. My wife, it's like, you never understand me. You always judge me. Uh, and the worst part is it's not about the topic. It's never about the topic. It's about the process in which two people talk. My maternal uncle, I have a maternal uncle, I have an aunt, and both have been my mentors in life. Mentors. My maternal uncle is the one who taught me everything and anything I know about science growing up at school. He was a chemistry teacher. My aunt, she literally held me together when I was breaking down. She's a psychologist, a practicing psychologist. Two mentors. But the recent time when I went to meet them, I was shocked. Every point in their life is a conflict. They're screaming, they're scolding each other. This is the layer that we are talking about. And I got scared. I really got scared because one thing I cannot tolerate is when people scream. I just cannot tolerate. There's a certain volume. You do not raise that volume. The tone of anger, the tone of scolding, I just cannot tolerate. I have left jobs because the manager didn't speak to me politely. I left opportunities because I sensed some kind of an attitude problem in the manager. For me, that's a code of honor. I never even allowed this layer to kick in. Now, this is the disconnect or the breakdown zone. Finally, the last layer is when Once you've exceeded all these layers and you realize that there's nothing that can be done, by the way, I gave you a stop sign in layer number 6, but this is the layer which is called as the fix, as in how to fix this dichotomy. And I'm going to share some very, very interesting manipulative point shooter style answers here, solutions here. So my only humble request is, please use these ethically. As in, during my dating days, obviously I was talking to a lot of girls over Tinder, over Bumble, over all these dating sites, Facebook, Meta, and all. And obviously there were these conflicts that came in. I used these conflicts to my advantage so that I can get to meet that person and spend more time with that person. Of course, the objective was, and that's what majority of guys growing up in the teenage, at least. Again, by the way, are you able to see? I'm also making assumption. Let me talk about me, not the other majority of the guys. So my objective growing up during my teenage years, all the way from 18, 19 to 20, 21, 22, until I got my girlfriend in second year, yeah, third year, was let me get physically intimate with as many women as possible. Physical intimacy was the target. And if I have to break through a conflict, what I would do is I would use these solutions. The solutions that I'm giving breaks the conflicts and the debates and makes two people vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, that's when you're authentic, you're transparent. But then there can always be a tendency that the other person will take advantage of you, you will take advantage of the other person, because we never know when the ego takes over. That's the problem of being born as a human. You have the conscience, you have the ego, and you have a pendulum that's swinging to and fro. So you've got to be able to know what is it that's best at that point of time. The pendulum I'm talking about is probably the pendulum of the Sanskrit word called dharma, or loosely translates to righteousness. Again, I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but I'll give you the solution and see how you can use it. The first is to always stay curious. Now, this is about you, okay, not the other person, about you. Never ever to correct the other person. So if someone tells that meditation is good for health, good, interesting. How did you come to that conclusion? Meditation is, can you give me an explanation? And the more they explain, the more questions you ask, you will realize that the question answer, and if you're able to set some context before, it's like, yeah, I mean, I hear what you say, but I just really want to, I really want to have a deeper conversation so that I can learn some more from this. Is that okay? If I can ask you some questions, and the obvious answer is yes, because it's a rhetorical question. So you ask, how did you come to that? Like, how did you come to the fact that meditation is important? And then they'll start sharing your experiences. And then you can keep questioning more. Okay, but beautifully you explained it. What if I don't get that experience? What do you think I should feel? Okay, so the more questions you ask, understand that the more the other person has to defend, and you are already on the offense. When you start talking, that's when it makes things difficult, because the other person is already not listening. And yet when you ask a question, they don't have a choice but to listen, because they also want to prove themselves. This always works. Okay. Second, separate the person from the opinion. I love this so much. Whenever two people are talking, by the time we come to this layer and the dichotomy is hit, there's always a tendency of you versus me. Yogeshwari and I consciously follow this, and we follow this for each other. We follow this for every human being we speak about. How can we together team up and solve the problem? So it's not about the people. It's about the point of view, the actual point of view, not what they believe, but the point of view itself. So if, let's just say in the retreat itself, I was told that you are supposed to follow every single thing exactly as it is told. Now, my point is it really humanly possible for every single person in the retreat to follow every single thing as told? Like come by 6:30 a.m. There will be some people who are late. There will be some people who are early. It's not possible to come at directly 6:30. So why do you think this rule has been given? Can we have a discussion on this together? You and I together have a discussion on this. What are the learnings? What can we learn? What are the things that we can grow from this? What is it that this particular thing is trying to tell me or teach me? The third, this is a very, very important one. Never ever rush to interrupt. Let the other person speak for as long as he or she wants. It's easier said than done. It's hard. So the way that I like to do it is, before I used to do it with my phone, but you can mentally calculate from the time of them speaking to the time when you have lost it. Like you're not interested in the conversation anymore. Only then you can interrupt, but interrupt with grace, with gratitude, with honor, with respect. Because by the time you've lost the conversation, you're not interested in them. They're just talking, and they're talking. They are feeling that they're talking something sense. For you, they are blabbering. Happened, right? So what I usually do is I never jump into conclusions. Oh my God, they're blabbering. Just when I'm about to jump into that conclusion, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Is it okay if I can share something? You've been sharing certain set of things with me over the last couple of minutes, but from this point onwards, I'm not able to process it. Is it okay if I can take a few seconds to process it? And based upon whatever you've told me, this is what you meant. And then you start sharing what they have shared until the point of what you understood. So what you're doing is you're validating whatever they have shared based on your understanding, and then you're opening the door for them either to simplify or carry forward the conversation, or if required, close the conversation. Does that make sense? By the way, I've done this so many times in the retreat, and it always works every single time. So do try it out. Now, the fourth solution is always asking questions, because questions are the answers. So when you ask questions like, tell me more, they'll explain some more. Why do you prefer this? I remember asking a couple of very interesting questions in the retreat to a couple of people. I'll give you the questions and I'll give you the context. The first is, I'll just give you the questions. I hear what you say, ma'am. What I'm trying to understand, why is it so important for you to force me to believe that meditation is good for me? And then she'll go about explaining, okay, but why is it important for you that I follow what you are telling, not what my soul is guiding me? So are you trying to say that you understand me better than I understand myself, or better than what my body is trying to tell me? By the way, look at the tone, okay? Just observe the tone. I'm asking questions. Now, the same question, if I change the tone, do you think you know me better than what I know myself? One is anger tone. Same words, compassion, curiosity. You are forcing them to reflect on themselves by just asking questions. Questions are the answers. When you ask a question to someone, whether they give you the answer or not, they are already processing the answers in their head. So you take control of a conversation with the power of questions. Very, very, what I'm sharing with you, I'll tell you, this is what, over a decade of experience, and I'm just giving you chocolates to eat right now. And and of course, then we come to point number 5, let differences stay differences. We can always agree that there's no winner, there's no loser. We are all in this journey of life, and we can always work towards it. So whenever I see that a conversation is not moving where it has to move on, there's no progress in the conversation, very, very politely say that, listen, you spend a certain amount of years on this planet Earth with your experience, your perspectives, based on your decisions and your choices. I would like to execute that freedom, because I believe the government of India has given me that freedom of right, speech, expression, and freedom. isn't it? So if I choose not to have kids, or not to do meditation, or not to do workouts, or even doing workouts the way I want, to do the meditation the way I want, to live the life the way I want, I don't think you should have a problem until unless you are the person who's having a direct impact because of it. Can we agree to disagree if that's okay? More often than not, people say yes. And then finally, this is the most important one, keep the tone softer as the topic gets harder. In this dichotomy, you have to understand it's people, it's always people. And no matter what you do, none of us have the right to hurt people, no matter what. It's the universal law, the law of karma, the law of actions. It always comes back. Every action has a equal and opposite reaction. One of the greatest laws of life. Even if you disagree, even if you condemn what the other person is telling you, doesn't really give you the right to hurt. Now, what I do, if I don't like someone and I realize, so I have this rule of three. If someone is repeating the pattern three times, which means it's a pattern in them, it's a habit in them. And if I don't resonate with the habit, I just simply uh, disassociate. The best way I do so is I block that person across all social media, phone, contacts, everything, and then I delete the number without even telling them. Now, there's something called as closure and all of those things. I personally do not believe in it, because the more, what I feel is when you want to go ahead for closure, I tried this with my ex and all that, it just keeps turning ugly. I don't like ugly. I like things to be peaceful as possible. So I just cut off. Simple as that. Now you can, again, you might even disagree with this, and that's absolutely okay. We can always agree to disagree. The point is, I always have a softer and a more polite tone as the conversation increases and heats up. Even situations when I'm having a conflict with people. In my college days, security guards would not allow us to go walk into the campus. I would very politely just ask them, I mean, what's stopping you? What's stopping you? What's really making you speak this rude with me at this time of the night? I just want to go and get a book from the library for my exam tomorrow. What what is that part? And they realize that the more softer I'm becoming, I'm actually telling them my need, not telling them, rather asking them. And they realize that it was their ego of that job, that responsibility, them overpowering me, taking control. The moment they realize that, is it okay that if you can join me in this, maybe then your ego would be satisfied, isn't it? When you are softer, people open up their vulnerabilities to you because your tone allows it. And then you can team up with that person and solve that problem together. So every conversation which turns out towards this dichotomy is something to learn about, something to think about, something to dive deep about. Of course, if anything is hurting you emotionally, no one in this world is more important than you. This entire episode, if you observe, if you listen to it again, if you watch this again, I know I will for sure. It's always about two things. First, how the world is reacting towards you. Two, how you are reacting internally towards the world, even before you show up. And if you are able to have that alignment based on the solutions that I gave you will realize that every conversation, every aspect of life, you will either be in control or you will learn how to take control. That is a superpower that is carried by the world's greatest leaders, the world's greatest C-suits, founders, CEOs, the most respectable beings on this planet, the most famous, the beings with the most power, they all carry this. And I hope and pray the same for you. If you've liked this episode so far, just do share your learnings down below. Also, make sure that you check out our the slots that are available for the Speak to Lead cohort starting from the month of December. Can't wait to teach all this to you, like literally make you do all this. That's the something that Yogeshwari and I both are super excited. With that, this is Dr. Surideep. Today I was late by 4 minutes. I hope I made up for it. But then again, timing is my code of honor. So I'm going to be waking up an hour early, not half an hour early, to prepare and show up as my best self. Little down with fever, but still doesn't really matter. Love you so much. See you tomorrow.